G'day. I'm Dave Cummins from Future Property Group, and welcome to the Future of Sustainable Development, podcast where we explore the ideas shaping tomorrow's built environment. Today, we're exploring the importance of biodiversity. What is it? Why is it important? And how to embrace it? Biodiversity is a big word with a simple truth. Life thrives on variety. From the tiniest microorganism in the soil to the largest whale in the ocean, biodiversity is a fabric that holds ecosystems together. It's not just about counting species, it's about the relationship between them, balance they create, and the resilience they give to the system we all depend on. As the Convention on Biological Diversity has highlighted, biodiversity underpins food scarcity, clean water, stable climates, and human health. Lose it, and we risk losing everything. Now, let's connect this to the property development sector. For decades, the industry has treated land as blank canvases. Scrape it clean, pour concrete, and start fresh. But land is never blank. Beneath every square metre is a living system built over millennia. The United Nations Environment Programme reports that the construction sector drives about 30% of global diversity loss through land use change, resource extraction, and urban sprawl. The World Economic Forum has identified biodiversity loss as one of the top 5 global risks to society and the economy. Yet historically, biodiversity barely registers in most developers' checklists. The benefits of embracing biodiversity in property are not only ecological, they're profoundly human. The journal Lancet Planetary Health published a review covering 140 studies and 290 million people, finding that exposure to biodiverse green spaces significantly reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, stress, and premature death. Environmental health perspectives reported that people living within 300 metres of green space had markedly lower levels of depression and anxiety. Put simply, biodiversity makes us healthier. It also makes us wealthier. The Journal of Sustainable Real Estate found that buildings surrounded by a biodiverse landscape command rental premiums by up to 16% more and maintain high occupancy rates, according to CBRE. They have confirmed that green certified buildings achieve 3 to 6% higher occupancy, while also Deloitte's in support has shown through their research that 75% of Australians are willing to pay more for homes that incorporate sustainable nature-rich designs. Far from being a cost, biodiversity is also an economic advantage. So if the evidence is so strong, why don't we embrace biodiversity more in property development? The first reason is perception of costs. Developers often fixate on upfront expenses, green roofs, rain gardens, habitat corridors, without recognising that long-term returns could lower maintenance, increase higher valuations, and reduce insurance risk. A study in ecosystem services showed that incorporating natural systems into urban infrastructure saves cities billions annually and avoided stormwater management costs and flood damage. The second is inertia. The construction industry is one of the slowest to innovate in the world. For over a century, success was measured in square metres delivered, not ecosystems restored. As the World Green Building Council reminds us, the sector is responsible for nearly 39% of global carbon emissions. Shifting to a biodiversity positive model requires us to change how we define progress, and change is uncomfortable. Third, there is a knowledge gap. Even though Science published Roger Ehrlich's landmark research showing recovery rates faster for patients with views of nature, and the Daylight study proved patients learn 20 to 26% faster in naturally lit rooms. Much of this evidence hasn't translated into systematic design standards. Too often, findings stay locked in academic journals instead of informing day-to-day decisions of planners, builders, and financiers. And of course, there is a vested interest. A study in energy in buildings found that green roofs reduce building cooling demands by 25% and lower neighbourhood temperatures by up to 2 degrees Celsius. This means less reliance on air conditioning, a win for the planet and occupants, but not exactly a growth market for companies profiting from higher electricity consumption. When biodiversity disrupts established business models, it meets resistance. But let's look at examples where biodiversity has been embraced successfully. In Australia, Sydney's One Central Park turned a skyscraper with a vertical ecosystem with more than 35,000 plants and 383 species integrated into its facade. Beyond being beautiful, it has helped reduce heat, filters air, and insulates home. Melbourne's urban forest strategy, aiming to double canopy cover by 2040, is already delivering improved air quality and reduced heat island effects. aligning perfectly with the findings in the Lancet's Planetary Health Journal. Globally, Singapore is a poster child of integrating biodiversity into dense urban living. Its city in a garden strategy has created more than 72 hectares of green roofs and sky gardens, cooling city districts by up to 4 degrees Celsius and boosting urban biodiversity. The Park Royal on Pickering Hotel integrates waterfalls, sky terraces, and gardens that reduce energy and water use by 60% compared to conventional hotels. In Europe, Milan's Basco Verticale towers host 900 trees and 20,000 plants, absorbing 30 tonnes of CO2 annually and producing 19 tonnes of oxygen, while providing residents the daily cognitive benefits that the Journal of Environmental Psychology associates with exposure to greenery. How can we embrace more biodiversity in development? First, by making it standard practice rather than an optional extra. That means embedding biodiversity metrics, canopy cover, native species counts, pollinator pathways into planning approvals. Second, by measuring outcomes. The Journal of Building Research and Information highlights that fewer than 10% of major projects undergo post-occupancy evaluation. Without data, we cannot prove or improve. Making biodiversity outcomes part of evaluations ensures accountability. Third, finance must reward biodiversity. The Journal of Housing Economics shows that mixed, sustainable developments provide stronger long-term returns. Banks and investors are beginning to recognise this through green loans and sustainably linked finance, where interest rates fall and biodiversity targets are met. Fourth, it's about culture. We need to rewrite the story of progress. For too long, steel, concrete and glass have been symbols of success, even though the World Economic Forum shows that construction drives nearly 30% of biodiversity loss. Progress should instead be defined by how many ecosystems we restore, how many species we protect, and how many communities we make healthier. What would happen if we built more biodiversity positive developments? We would see hospitals where patients heal faster with less medication. We would see schools where children learn faster and thrive in green environments. We would see businesses where workers are more productive and less stressed, consistent with the findings in the Journal of Environmental Psychology. Cities would be cooler during heat waves, reducing mortality rates as documented in the environment and health perspectives. Property portfolios would also be resilient with stronger demands and higher values, and ecosystems would rebound, providing the natural services like pollination, clean water, and carbon storage that our civilizations depend on. The take-home message is this: biodiversity is not just about saving plants and animals, it's about saving ourselves. It's the foundation of resilient economies, healthy communities, and thriving ecosystems. Every project, every building, every street we design can either weaken or strengthen our web of life. The evidence is overwhelming, the tools are in our hands, and the examples are already here. The question is not, should we protect biodiversity? The question is, how quickly can we make it the default for every project? Because when we design with biodiversity in mind, we don't just reduce harm, we regenerate. We don't just build structures, we build futures. And in the future, people, planet, and prosperity all grow together. Thank you for tuning in to the future of sustainable development. Join us next time as we uncover fresh research, new innovations, and best practices for building smarter, greener, and more resilient buildings. Until then, let's continue to build places that not only heal the land, but empower communities for tomorrow.